It was early morning and the sea lay calm, blowing cool under the soft light of rising sun. A small boat cut across the waves, heading towards Isle of Grey, a place wrapped in mystery and fear. At the front of the boat stood Captain Jonas, map in one hand, compass in the other, eyes fixed on the distant land. The beach slowly came into view, pale sand stretched before a wall of thick jungle, and the shadows of tall trees fell across the shore. John stepped onto the sand, and a small team followed, unloading supplies and laying out their gear. They pitched tents and sketched rough outlines of the forest onto their map. The air was warm, the sea was gentle, and birds flied the sky with their cries. To the team, it felt almost peaceful, but Jonas could not relax. He looked into the forest with restless curiosity, his eyes sharp and eager. The others warned him. The island had a reputation. Explorers had come before and vanished. Rumors told of strange fogs, odd lights, and sudden disappearances. But John's determination only grew stronger. Waves washed softly against the shore as he strapped his backpack tightly. He checked his compass, gave his team a reassuring smile, and promising he would return soon. Then, with confident steps, he walked towards the jungle. The leaves rustled, and small animals started way into the underground. At the edge of the forest, he paused, listening distantly, one at last time. Then he entered, and the shadow swallowed him. At first, the jungle seemed ordinary, sunlight shone through the cracks in the branches above, casting golden patterns onto the ground. Jonas moved quietly, but as he walked deeper, a strange fog began to curl along his legs. It crept higher, wrapping itself around the trees and covering the path. Jonas frowned and checked his compass, but the needle spun widely, refusing to point in any direction. He stopped and called out, "Hello, is anyone there?" His voice echoed through the fog, returning to him strangely. Twisted, he pressed on, carefully, not to stumble over the roots or hidden rocks. Then suddenly he noticed footprints, his own, clear in the damp soil, and another set beside them. This new tracks led deeper into the fog, but ended just as quickly as they appeared. Jonas froze. A low hum began to vibrate through the ground. At first, it was faint, but slowly it grew louder, almost like the heartbeat of the island itself. Jonas glanced around. The shadows of the trees stretched unnaturally, twisting into the odd shape, and his pulse quickened. Then, without warning, a gust of wind slammed through the forest, nearly knocking him off his feet. He stumbled, scrubbed his hands on rough roots and stones. The fog thickened instantly, rising until he pressed against his face like a living wall. His breath came fast. He could see almost nothing. The sun above vanished, replacing by a dull gray of light. Jonas looked around, fear mixed with determination in his eyes. He called out again, but only his echo answered. Small animals curled away into the mist, leaving him alone completely. He walked carefully, each step slow and shaky. The footprints ahead faded into nothing, and the hum beneath his feet grew louder, shaking leaves and branches around him. Jonas spun in circles, unsure which way to go. The wind came again, violently and suddenly. He tripped over a thick root, falling towards onto the damp ground, and then it happened. The fog swallowed him whole. From outside, there was nothing left to see. Jonas has vanished. Back at the beach, the team grew worried. Hours passed, and Jonas never returned. They shouted his name into the forest, but only faint echoes drifted back. Following the trails, they found footprints in the soil, leading inwards, but stopping suddenly, as though Jonas had walked off the edge of the world. The team stood frozen, fear heavy in their eyes. The captain had disappeared without a trace. Jonas, meanwhile, stumbled blindly to the mist. His breath was sharp, his hands shaking, and something caught his eye, a faint metallic glint under a pile of leaves. He pressed the soil aside, and his heart jumped. There, half buried, was a strange pot of metal, old and rusty, yet humming with hidden powers. The door creaked open as Jones pushed it. Inside were dusty switches, blinking lights, and strange instruments. Has stepped into the humming grew stronger, and before his eyes the world shifted. His body shrunk faintly. He looked down at his hands. They were frayed. He was turning invisible. Panic struck at first, but Jonas forced himself to stay calm. He studied the controls, covered in dust, but still alive with power. His compass needle spun fast, and the fog outside swirled violently around the pod. Jonas' mind raced. The mission. It must have been left here long ago. Some forgotten experiment that had clogged the island and swallowed explorers into the sea. He moved carefully, pressing buttons, pulling levers, listening as the hum rose and fell. Slowly, the fog began to thin, the humming weakened. Jonas felt his body reappear, his hands visible once more, his heart pounded with relief. Sunlight cut through the mist, streaming into the forest. The air grew clear. He could see trees, the soil, even the faint glow of the shoreline in the distance. He retraced his steps carefully, determined to make it back. On the bench, his team was still searching. Then one of them pointed out of the thin fog. A figure appeared. Jonas, tired, dirty, but alive. Then ran to him, joy and disbelief on the faces. Jonas explained everything, how he found the pod, how it created the fog, and how it made invisible and twisted incenses. The footprints that stopped suddenly, the compass spinning widely, and the strange humming. It all had a reason. The team listened, glancing nervously towards the jungle. The mystery of the island was no longer magic or curse, it was science, an old mission still alive in the shadows. John's courage and sharp mind has saved him. That night, the team sat down the camps celebrating his return, but Jones could not stop thinking. As he looked back at the forest, he saw the fog return, curling quietly between the trees. Somewhere out there, the boat still rested, waiting silently. The next morning, the boat sailed away from the Isle of Grain. The sun shone high, painting the sea with golden lights. John stood at the edge, watching the island fade behind them. His face showed both relief and excitement. He was safe, but the adventure had left its mark. The island was not done. Its secret still waited, hidden deep in the fog. Jonas smiled to himself. Adventure was dangerous, unpredictable, and frightened, but it was also the only way to understand the unknown. He returned home a hero, praising for his bravery and courageousness. Yet deep inside, he knew the Isle of Grey would never fully give up its mysteries. One day, another explorer might step into the shore, walking into the fog, and discover that the trick is stranger and far more fascinating than anyone could ever imagine.